Morning, everybody. Real Entrepreneurs TV. Emil Hurst joining you. We have a very special guest today. Excited to talk about the financial service industry and how we are pivoting during this COVID-19 situation. We have Feraud Calixte.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. How we doing?
Oh, I'm doing great on this morning. It's early, but I'm ready to jump into it and talk all things entrepreneurship, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's the best time to do business. Everything's quiet.
Exactly.
Don't have to worry about those inbound calls until around 8:30. So we appreciate it. So right now, I just want to talk a little bit about, before we get into the industry, what your day-to-day operation was like pre-COVID and what it looks like today, post-COVID.
Yeah, so Emil, I've been in a fortunate position where, in terms of the operation of the business, it hasn't been terribly affected because I was working remotely anyway. We have a small firm; it's just me, so we were able to kind of leverage technology. Anyway, so once the COVID thing hit and everybody was working from home, I was already doing that. Mm-hmm. So that in that essence, there hasn't been that much disruption. The biggest thing is that, a lot of my business is really relationship based. So what kind of really slowed down is the out and about that I was doing and meeting with folks and networking physically. So that's changed a lot because of the social distancing and stay at home kind of orders in place.
Gotcha. And financial service industry, right? So what avenue or what lane in financial services is your niche that you service?
Yeah, so VantagePoint Planning. So it's a fee-only financial planning firm, and I make that distinction because fee only just means that we're obligated to act in the best interest of the client. So we don't sell any products. There's no commission. The only revenue we derive or earn comes from the client. So a lot of people like that relationship because it lowers the conflict of interest. Now, so our firm is in the fee only space. Mm-hmm. And then we focus exclusively or primarily on the financial planning. So every time when you hear financial services, it's a big umbrella. Everybody just wants to immediately ask me, what's the latest stock tip or things like that. And I just say investments is just a small portion of financial planning. So we're talking to folks about retirement planning, educational planning, risk management, insurance, investment planning is a part of it, tax planning. We also talk about their estates. And then we also talk about just their overall life goals and really try to get them on track to achieve the things that are important to them. So it's so much more comprehensive at the way we do it versus just, I'd say traditional financial services or investment management.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So we'll get way more deeper into those buckets for as tax planning, retirement, things like that. But as far as actual running it as a business, how did you fall into this versus going into any other business? As a business.
Yeah, so I kind of got into financial advising by accident. I went to school at NYU. A lot of my, being from New York, a lot of my friends who graduated from NYU and they were interested in finance, they went to get the big jobs on Wall Street. So that was kind of when I thought about financial services, that's all I knew. Or they became, stockbrokers. And then, I did a couple different things. I went to law school, got my JD, started doing a couple of things. And then my first entry into the business was working at Morgan Stanley. People know that name. It was like a traditional, financial advising space. Mm-hmm. And I just liked it so much. I didn't realize that I would enjoy it so much. It was, hard work, trying to build a business, trying to get clients. And then as I kind of grew in the business, I started looking at things like the difference between, working at a big, what they call a wirehouse or Morgan Stanley. Then I looked at the bank channel. and then the independent space. So this is close to a 10-year journey, kind of doing that. And that's what I tell folks all the time. The route that you end up or where you land, there's a lot of twists and turns to get to where you ultimately want to be. But it's been a fun ride, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So Real Entrepreneurs TV, we service our audience is current and aspiring entrepreneurs right now. So what are some of the misconceptions about your industry that a lot of people that jump into it wide-eyed and excited, what do they misunderstand in most cases that you notice before they actually get into this business?
Yeah, so one thing that they misunderstand, and I think this could go for any business, but look, if you're an entrepreneur, it always amazes me how many entrepreneurs or folks who are interested in starting a business say that they don't like sales. Well, look, you need to get over that really quick, because no business can thrive without revenue. You can call it what you want, but that's sales. Mm-hmm. You gotta be willing to put yourself out there and engage would-be customers or clients. Mm-hmm. So that's the biggest thing. So, I am under no delusion. While I like talking to clients, prospective clients about and creating financial plans, really diving in deep, but I also know that one of my primary roles as an entrepreneur, as a solo entrepreneur, is client acquisition, i.e. sales. So fortunately, I kind of grew up in the business that way. Every position that I've had has been a sales position, and sales is not a dirty word. A lot of people think it's there's something shady about it, but if you think about it, all you're doing is providing you're talking to folks who have a problem, and you're trying to offer them a solution. So you're really a problem solver. So
they call it business development now. That's the new
the business development. I've had that too.
Right.
Yeah. Business development.
Because of that connotation of sales. You think of the baggy suit, used car salesman, the door-to-door vacuum sales cleaner, trying to trick you and persuade you.
Exactly.
But I'm glad you said that. So how did you make that discovery that if you're an entrepreneur, you are a salesman at the end of the day? You can't hide behind that portion of your business.
Well, yeah, I mean, you got to learn that by the hard way, because you find out real quick. There's that old saying, if you build it, they will come. Mm-hmm. Well, I found most successful people that didn't work for them. You got to build it, then you got to tell them about it the second time, and then tell them about it the third time to get them in there. So I think that you just got to get real comfortable and have a focus, and then you just got to have confidence in your product or service too, because I feel so good and confident about the services that I'm providing. I really feel that I'm out here helping people and changing lives. Mm-hmm. So if you feel that confident in what you're doing, why do you want to keep that a secret?
Yeah.
That's literally how I see it. So
great. So talk a little bit more about that 10-year journey, because right now you've built out your firm, but that transition from the corporate sector into stepping into your own, what was that thought process and journey like? How did you get to where you are now from the corporate space?
Yeah, so I've been fortunate enough. Like I said, I've kind of worked at different firms and had a good view of the industry. So I always recommend that. So look, a lot of times I think that you need to earn or pay your dues and then just learn. Every job is an opportunity to learn. So I always had that kind of aspect to me, and I was always naturally inquisitive. So whatever firm that I was working for, I would ask questions. I would be interested in things that, things like compliance. I would be interested in, how does the business work? Like, look, what's the P&L of this business? What makes this firm work. You know, I try to really look at staffing issues and what's the revenue model. So, okay, we earn this much in fees, this percentage goes to overhead, this percentage is what you earn, yada, yada. So I was always interested in that side of the business. And then, you know, I got to the point where after doing it for a while, you know, you get to that point where you start thinking about future and legacy. And then I said to myself that, you know, one of the biggest things that we often take for granted is time. So time is something that you don't get back. So either I'm going to be working regardless. I'm naturally a hard worker. So it's just like, so now do I want to pivot and start building something for myself and my family? And then once I kind of got there, from a conceptual standpoint, then it was like the practical standpoint. So I always tell would-be entrepreneurs, like the easiest thing to do, and I like the energy. Everybody, you know, entrepreneurship is exciting. You could chart your own course. You can be your own boss. All of that sounds good, and you get this energy, this rush, like you're just ready to jump into it right away. But being a financial planner, there were certain things that I had to put in place financially to make sure that I can do that. I had to have a business model, a business plan, even if it wasn't something like concrete, but you just had to know. So again, I go back to the sales. So, okay, you want to start a new business, where your customers coming from? Right. What's the initial investment look like? What's the equipment? What's the technology that you need for your particular business? So all those things, I actually found that exciting. I liked having my hand in all those different things. And then so once I did that, I said, okay. And then obviously, if you're married, if you have a spouse, make sure you get the sign off. Because my wife had heard me talking about starting a practice for years, to the point I think if somebody was to ask her now, it's not that the fear goes away, because there's always fear in jumping out into unknown. But I think she got to the point where it's just like, look, Feraud, if you're gonna keep talking about this thing all the time, just go ahead and do it. Yeah. So that's it. Ended up what happened.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And so, man, we're a no excuse zone at the end of the day. So that piece of advice that you gave to make sure that you have your plans in order, I can just imagine that one person saying, you know, I haven't got started yet because Feraud said I need to get the sign off. I need to get myself financially straight. How do you still act and execute while you're in the planning phase and not be in the paralysis analysis position and never make a move? We don't want to give them that permission to make an excuse not to act.
Yeah. So that's a tough question, because that's so personal for everybody. But I am one of those believers in that, look, you can study, you can plan till you're blue in the face. And you're true. A lot of folks, they suffer from analysis paralysis. Yep. Now, the only thing that I would say to people is, or would-be entrepreneurs, just give yourself permission that, look, it's not going to be perfect right out the gate. It doesn't have to be. That's not the goal. The goal is that you can learn a lot while you're doing it. And then I always say this to myself, and this is me talking to myself too when I was planning this. You know, sometimes I got stuck in the future. I said, I have a clear vision of what I want this firm, what I want this practice to look like 10 years from now. But that doesn't mean it has to start out that way. You know, it's just that, but you have to constantly plug away at it. And you have to give yourself permission to, you know, fail, to pivot, to evolve. So once you do that, you got to go. So you do get to that point where I do think that some planning is required, but then you have to get to that place. And personally, where you just like, okay, now it's time to act, because execution is what's worship. And there's a lot of people who have great ideas, but literally the people who succeed are the people who act. You have to act.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree with that. So if you're talking to an aspiring financial planner right now, they have the idea, they have the encouragement, they have the plan. if you got to tell them to pick a direction to get started, how would you give that suggestion? I won't say recommendation, but what would you suggest to keep moving forward while I'm in this mode?
Yeah, so if that person is working somewhere, look, at every place you work, use it as an opportunity to learn. You can always invest in yourself. Investing in yourself is the best, you get the best return on investment there. Always be looking to invest in yourself. So that's one of the investments that I made in myself, is that once I knew I wanted to do this, I went ahead and became a certified financial planner. So I earned the CFP designation. Now, to me, I looked at, not every advisor doesn't have that, but the certified financial planning designation is the gold standard in financial planning. Less than, I forget, a small percentage of financial planners around the country have earned that designation. So to me, I was like, for the way I want to serve my eventual clients, or the way I want my career to be, I want to be in the top echelon of planners out there. So always invest in yourself. So that's number one. Number two, understand that if you're going into a service business the way I am, you can be you can read all the books, you can go to all the conferences, you can do everything you want. It does not work unless you have clients to advise. So you need to be able to have a client acquisition strategy and say that, look, for the first couple of years, what I'm going to be doing is really a majority of my day is going to be used to get clients. Now, if you've been in the business for a while, hopefully, and you have a network of folks you can kind of call on, that's always the good thing. But you have to consider that. You have to say to yourself that, okay, I'm investing in myself. I have the motivation and energy to do this. Now, how am I going to get clients? So that has to be at the forefront of your thinking and strategy. So if you get that, then I'm saying, like, look, you just go ahead and jump in, because you're never going to be 100% prepared. And one thing that I want all entrepreneurs know this. Look, it is okay to be, there's a lot of words that we need to change the paradigm of how people think about failure. Failure is just an opportunity to learn and reset. So let's just get that out the way. Fear is normal and healthy. A lot of entrepreneurs, what they do, they exemplify a lot of courage. So there would be no courage if there wasn't fear. So that's what you really focus on. So you can be scared. You can have some fear, like particularly if you're, I'm married. I have 2 small children. I have a mortgage, all of the things that we all have. So those are all normal things. So the timing is never perfect, but you just have enough confidence, and you've thought out your plan in such a way that, you can overcome that fear and say that, I'm going to go get it. And then that's it's okay to have that. And I'll tell people all the time, it's okay to have that.
Got you. So walk us through that week of when you knew that you were going to do this thing full time. What were those feelings? Or what was the stage like? Right before you went full throttle into what you are right now. So was it a resignation? Was it a firing? Tell us that story.
Yeah, so it was a resignation. But again, I've been fortunate to always work with bosses, and have this last firm who I had an owner who was kind of gracious with, like, sharing knowledge, like some of the benefits and burdens of ownership, and things like that. And to me, sitting in my seat, that was inspiring to see what some of the benefits and burdens of ownership was. So once I kind of made that decision with my family, the thing became, now I want to resign in a way, and then, not burn any bridges, because the industry is small. You want to always try to leave on a good note. And, just have a frank conversation when you do resign. Hopefully you have that. And I was in a small business, so I wasn't in a large corporation. So I was able to have a conversation with the owner and tell him about my plans and what I wanted to do. And he understood and wished me well. And I think that, I think if you talk from one entrepreneur to another entrepreneur, they get it. At least I would hope they get it. When I get to the point where, if I ever get to the point where I have a large staff or, I have people working for me, if somebody's ambitious and they're just like, hey, Feraud, I appreciate the opportunity. I learned a lot, but I really want to, try to go at this on my own, man, I'm gonna be excited for that person. I naturally have an abundance mentality. So there's clients out there for everybody. People who work with you are not going to necessarily want to work with me and vice versa. So to me, once I kind of got over that in my head, that I still had that nervousness, that fear leading up to it. But I can tell you, once you get on the other end of it, man, the amount of relief, the exhilaration, the excitement, that'll carry you for a long time when you have those inevitable struggles. Because, there are times, and this is early on in the entrepreneur, you're like, oh, wow, I'm doing this. Okay. Yeah. And then when you sit like that, once that kind of enters your mind, you're just like, okay, let me get to work. I got to go get to work. And that keeps you going.
That's good, man. So that first day of independence. So we know we have a plan right now, and I'm just walking through your train of thought. You made a plan. You're already operating out of courage. Excuse me. Still, what are those feelings like in your head that very first day?
That very first day, I think that very first day, I was still dealing with the exhilaration of it all. It's really the adrenaline. So that the very first day is not the hard part. I think the hard part, or the more interesting part, is 6 months. That hopefully you can, some people don't even realize that there's that dry spell initially. So whatever point that you get to that part where you're just like, okay, this is starting to get real. Hopefully you have enough in the, inside of you just to, or you have some way to remember why you did this in the first place to keep you going. So the thought process is always like, head down, I'm going to work. But then you got to keep the why you did this somehow, either, some people use Post-its, some people keep a gratitude journal. To me, I do it all. So I'm a morning person. So it's usually in that time, in the quiet, the peace of the morning, that I'm able to kind of center myself and prepare myself for the day. And I usually try to have a day during the week, typically Sunday night, that I really plan out the week. Because now, one of the biggest challenges that a lot of entrepreneurs have, some people thrive on it, some people don't, but you don't have the same structure as you used to have in the 9 to 5, which to me, I like having autonomy. I like being able to schedule things. But the flip side of that is that you have to kind of give yourself some guidelines so you can be efficient and make the most use of your time, or you're going to be running yourself ragged and you're not going to have any sense of direction. So that's kind of some insight there.
You read the 12-week year yet?
The 12-week year? No. I haven't read
that. Yeah. Okay. I'll send that to you.
Okay.
Email it to you. But that's a good book. So basically, in a nutshell, as entrepreneurs, a lot of people, December 20th through December 31st, they kind of look at that as like crunch time right before New Year's. Like all of the business that I didn't get, I want to try to get in this last month before we close the books. But 12-week year puts you in the mindset. Look, every quarter is a year, and that it's in that mindset, and it helps, man. So first quarter, like March 31st was really our business is December 31st. Okay. So that last month of the quarter, like it was go time, as if, New Year's was right around the corner. And if you break the entire year up that way, it's like a more laser focus with your business objectives, and that way, execution is just a byproduct of that. So I'll make sure I send that to you.
Okay, awesome.
And that's the hell with discipline and time management, which is why I mentioned it. So
okay,
that's good. So we at this point now, we got a plan. We operating out of courage. We jumped off the cliff. We're on a high of exhilaration. You spoke about those cycles, those peaks and valleys. Does that ever stop?
No, I don't think that ever will stop. I think that that's the road of being an entrepreneur. That's, at least to me, that's kind of why you went into it, because again, there's the safety. There's the safety in, and some people look at it differently, but there's safety in, typically when you're working, when you have a steady job, you kind of know you're going to get the incremental raises, you have benefits. And I'm not one of those entrepreneurs. I've been seeing this trend that I feel that people are demonizing people who decide to work a 9 to 5 and saying that everybody needs to be an entrepreneur. I don't believe everybody needs to be an entrepreneur. And I don't believe that there's anything wrong with working at your career and excelling at your desired vocation, whatever it is. So there's nothing wrong with that. I believe there's dignity in all work. Just work hard and try to achieve. But now with that said, so there is something unique about entrepreneurship, because again, you have made a conscious decision that you want to be, in as much as you could, in control of your own destiny. And with that being said, there's going to be ups, downs. There's going to be, for me, when I'm talking to prospective clients, they used to be early on, and before I started my business, anytime it's always exhilarating. I always find it exciting to talk to new people. I'm like, you get excited. You see that they have a particular set of issues. That you're the perfect person to solve those issues for them. You get everything going, but the deal doesn't close. So you get this high feeling of exhilaration. You're just like, yeah, I'm excited to work with this person. And for some reason or another, the deal doesn't close. Then that person's gone. So then you go through this high and then this low. Mm-hmm. And then what I learned, and that's through experience, is that, look, because when you really think about sales, a lot of times when you work for large organizations, the end result is what you're measured on. So how much revenue you brought in, how many clients have you acquired, those kind of things. But you get to the point as an entrepreneur, those are important. So I'm not going to say those numbers are not important, but you start to realize, all I can do is control what I can control. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm passionate about my product or service. I know that it'll help people. I'm willing to go out there and tell as many people as I can, you've done your job. You can't control if somebody says that, what, Feraud, I like it. I'm going to decide to work with you. Fortunately for me, people do decide that they like it and they're willing to work with me. So that's good. And I think that'll be for most entrepreneurs out there, whatever product or service that you're offering the marketplace, just know that there's going to be highs and lows. There's going to be that big contract that you was looking to get, that big deal that you was looking to close that it didn't, but you got to shake yourself off, because you have to approach the next one with that same amount of enthusiasm. So you can't let those things get you down. So the highs and lows are inevitable. Those just keep coming. You just got to learn to manage it. And that'll just come with the experience.
You think entrepreneurs are born or made, Feraud?
Ooh, that's a good one. I think I think you could be made into an entrepreneur. I don't think that there's something, natural. I think that there are some people who have a natural tolerance for risk. Some people are just more comfortable with a certain level of risk. But I think that there are a lot of entrepreneurs that could be, depends on their situation, could be made. One book that I enjoyed reading is called The Reluctant Entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. And the premise behind that, at least the way I understood it, is that, again, culturally, nationally, we tend to be excited or really enamored by a lot of entrepreneurs. We're like, man, this person is so awesome. They must have this kind of huge amount of courage, to just start this business on their own. But then you find out that there are a lot of businesses out there, a lot of people who we hear the end story, but we didn't see the grind coming to the end. So a lot of times people start their businesses as a side hustle. So they got their 9 to 5, right? So you're working 9 to 5, and then after that, from 5 to until you're working on your business on your own time, long nights and weekends. So to me, that person's an entrepreneur, but they just have a different level of risk. And you might say they're even a lot more practical, because they're like, well, I'm not going to go ahead and jump feet first into this until I know that it's viable, until it can last. So I do think that there are people who are really strategic and really thoughtful when it comes to launching a practice. So you can learn that.
And what do you think is that good time where it makes more sense for you to be full-time in your business versus, having one foot in, one foot out?
Yeah, so that's a good thing too. There's a balance between that, because again, these are such personal questions for each individual and each individual situation, but you do have to get to the point where you look at it, because again, time is that resource that we have the same 24 hours in a day. So the way you use that is important. So you can be thinking that, okay, well, I'm spending 8-10 hours a day working, and then I'm trying to build this business. But then you get to the point where I can't leave my job because the business isn't growing fast enough. But then the reason why it's not growing fast enough, because you're not working at it just as long. So it's just that balance between, there's that element of courage. So you have to get to the point where you say that, look, I've planned enough. I got enough in, what I feel like is enough in savings, or some kind of, I have some kind of strategy in place that I can withstand some of the dry spells. Eventually, you're just going to have to leap, because it's going to be hard to really do both. Or I know people who have several different side businesses, to do them successfully all at the same time, because they're all competing for your time. Then I would hope you want to spend some time for leisure, some family time, other things. So you don't want to be working 24 hours a day either.
Glad you said that. So you believe that work-life balance can exist?
Oh man, I think not only can it exist, it has to. I think that, those of us who find ourselves, and again, I'm a worker. Like, I want to work. I enjoy it. Fortunately, I enjoy all the things that I'm involved in, but you have to get to the place in a certain, I think, maturity level to say that, well, what are you doing all of this for? So I build this wildly successful business, and I get all of these material successes. And then one day, and we hear it all the time, you stop for a second, you look around, and you realize, well, you're the only one in there. So you've built this large thing that, and this is where my faith comes involved. Like, you can't take it with you. So, you want to succeed, you want to do, you want to succeed, you want to build a successful business, but you have to still have that perspective and say why it's important. Plus, it's healthy. I think that, there are a lot of people in certain businesses who struggle with burnout. Depression is real amongst entrepreneurship. Being lonely is real amongst entrepreneurs. So you got to have those mental health breaks and do other things to kind of take your mind off of the constant grind. There's nobody who wins in that situation.
I agree. When was the last time, because this, I think each entrepreneur can resonate with this, the last time the thought came across your head that this might not work?
Oh man, I didn't even think about that. I can't even allow myself to to do that. And I'm telling you, any would-be entrepreneur, I know that there are times where, you're going to have those fear spells, but this might not work. I can't even allow myself to go there.
Yeah.
Because it's going to work, because I know that I am going to work it. And that's just what you have to tell yourself. Now, again, with that said, I do believe that there's some pivots, or, if I'm doing things one way, like most businesses have to evolve, businesses have to be adaptable. So if I'm doing things one way, and then that's the thing, the market will tell you what works. If you're selling something and you're realizing that you're not closing as many deals as you want, well, there might be some adjustment there. It's constant learning. That's actually why I enjoy it, why I enjoy being an entrepreneur, because the market will tell you, your client base will tell you, maybe you're priced inappropriately, or here's another thing too. If whatever you're selling or doing, you find that the demand is way, like you just getting orders and orders, you can't keep up. Well, that's telling you something, adjust that price a little bit, raise that price to kind of say that maybe you're underselling yourself. You don't want to be in that position either. So those are the kind of things that you just need to be aware of as an entrepreneur. But there has to be a foundational belief that, look, whatever you decided to do is going to work because I'm going to make it work.
What about support? So you talked about that you spoke about going full time for so long that your wife was like, look, just go ahead and do it. Mm-hmm. So making sure that this is an environment where we don't make excuses, but that person that has the plan, that has the courage, that taking Feraud's advice, I've strategized, I got my savings, but my family just tells me, you can't do this. Now's not a good time to do it. It's COVID-19. Nobody's gonna support your business. So the person with no support, that speaks specifically in the financial service industry, that wants to start that business, what's your advice to them?
Yeah, man. So first of all, I feel for you. That's a tough place to be in, where you feel like you have no support. But let me tell you, one of the things about being an entrepreneur, and I'd even say a visionary, your vision has to be so clear to you and only you. So with that being said, you just have to understand that, there are going to be people out there and people that we love who can't necessarily see your vision. And it's not something it doesn't come from a bad place. What they're trying to do is protect you. Okay. If somebody loves you, they want to spare you from any pain. I mean, I do that for my kids all the time. I do that to my wife. I don't want them to be in any pain. Right. So what you have to realize is that there is a certain amount of pain that is inevitable in starting any business. You just have to figure out what your threshold for that pain is. And then secondly, you just have to know that your vision is so clear to you. You've done the steps that you need to do to feel prepared, that you're going to proceed with this in knowing that, look, there are going to be some people out there who, they are telling you something, they're trying to protect you from pain. Then you also want to be careful too. Who are you getting this advice from? I always tell the people that, look, why don't you talk to another entrepreneur? Talk to somebody who either in your field, who's actually, because I've done that. I spoke to I have people who I consider friends in the business who are firm owners. Every time I talk to them, it was like a much needed shot in the arm. Like, it was encouraging when I was planning up to this thing, and encouraging to the point that I had people in my circle who didn't only give me the positives. They told me the downsides, some of the concern or some of the risk associated with it too. But every time I would go through that and I would listen to them, and for me, I was just so excited. I was willing to take that chance. So if you don't have the support in your immediate circle, reach out to people who are passionate about their particular field, or they were really excited about starting a business. Listen to this, this podcast, this YouTube channel on entrepreneurs. There's tons of other podcasts and YouTube channels on entrepreneurs. Start really immersing yourself around those folks who have already done what you're trying to do.
I think that's excellent advice, man. So going deeper into the financial services space, we talked about estate planning, tax planning. Can you help us kind of get an understanding of what exactly that means? So for example, what is estate planning, or what is the difference between tax planning and filing my taxes that I would need your firm to help me out with?
Yeah, so that's a good question, Emil. So when you talk about tax preparation, I don't prepare taxes. So I work with your accountant, your CPA, to prepare your taxes and file the taxes. But tax planning has to do a lot of times when you have investments. So you want to know, should I be in a taxable account or a tax deferred account? I have income coming in from different sources. What's the best way to organize that income to make it the most tax efficient possible? I'm in a high tax bracket. Are there any things that I can do to kind of lower my tax liability by investing some money in different accounts? So those are the kind of things when we talk about tax planning. We talk about some of the other areas, estate planning. Again, I have my law degree, but I'm not an estate attorney. I don't prepare the documents. But, a lot of times folks will come to me and one of their goals is that they want to leave a legacy to their children, or they want to leave a legacy to some charitable organization. So what we'll do, we'll come up with the plan on what that looks like, and then I'll work with your estate attorney to see, so they can draft the documents to make sure that your plans are fulfilled in the manner that you want. So those are the kind of things that we do in terms of investment planning. Look, I'm not an individual. Our firm doesn't pick individual stocks, but we do spend a lot of time talking about your accounts, make sure that you're invested in the types of things that will get you to your goals. So if you have a portfolio, even if you don't have a portfolio, we'll analyze it for you. We'll do the research. We'll do the due diligence in terms of the investments that you're in. Make sure that your investments line up with the things that you say that are important to you. Same thing when we think about educational planning is really straightforward. You're saying that you want to plan for your children's education. We put a plan together and give you an investment strategy so you can get their insurance planning. That's more risk. We look at all your liabilities, income sources, and we make sure that there's some insurance in place to mitigate if you were to prematurely pass away. We want to make sure that your family's taken care of. Any other exposure that you have, we want to make sure you're covered from an insurance perspective. So those are the kind of things that we talk about kind of high level with our clients.
Yeah, and what's the difference between giving a call to your firm or just going to Google and getting an out-the-box, either out-the-box course, or just Googling what should I do with my retirement plan, or just going up the street to a Charles Schwab or Wells Fargo advisors? What's unique and what's different who work with you?
Yeah, so I think that we are in the kind of time, the economy where there's a lot of information out there. So, a lot of times the folks that I end up speaking to, they are the folks who have done a certain amount of research on their own. So they Google, they listen to blog. I mean, they read blogs, podcasts, they read books on kind of like basics in personal finance. I think one of the values that I provide in working with, I'm able to help you sift through all of that information and really put something together that's unique for you. See, I can read a book. You can read a personal blog. You can talk to somebody who says that, they have all the stock picks out there, but is that person willing, and is it that person's profession to work on your behalf? Secondly, does that person also have your best interest? So our firm, I'm a certified financial planner. I have a fiduciary responsibility. So that is a legal responsibility to act in your best interest. So that's a level of assurance that, certain clients like. They work with us because they know that I'm going to be working in their best interest, the way we're compensated. So like I said at the initial part of this interview, is that we're fee only, meaning that they can feel confident that I'm not telling you to buy this insurance because there's something in it for me. I get a commission. I'm not selling you this mutual fund or whatever it is because there's something in it for me. So practical example, a lot of my younger clients would say that they're interested in the FIRE movement, financial independence, retire early. So they'll talk to me. They read all the books and say, well, Feraud, how do I get there? How do I do that? So if somebody has some money set aside and they have a mortgage, they may say, Feraud, I really want to be debt free by this amount of time. Like I want to take all of my, money and pay off my debt. Now, traditionally, some other advisors would say that, well, you know what, it would be, that debt is a low interest debt. Why don't you take that money and invest it with us? Invest it with us. We'll invest it. It'll generate some kind of return, and then you'll be better off in the long run. So there's nothing wrong with that. The only pushback that I have is that, well, in listening to this person, they said that this debt keeps them up at night. I'm saying? They this is really important to them to pay this off. So let's pay that off. And I can say that and feel confident that I'm doing what's in that person's best interest, because my compensation is not tied to that person taking that money and investing it with me. I can literally give them advice, objective advice that's best for them. So that's one of the other benefits that they get in working with a firm like ours.
That's good. What would the Feraud in business full time today? What conversation would you have with the Feraud that started full time that first day? So if you could give advice to yourself that very first day after you left the job, and like you said, that exhilaration is there. Mm-hmm. So if you could talk back to that self today, what would you say?
Whenever I listen to like entrepreneurs talk and they're a couple years in their business, they always say that, man, one of the biggest things I wish I would have started sooner. They always say that, I wish I would have started sooner. Nah, I'm not one of those people. I think that the timing of everything was perfect. I think that everybody's journey is unique. Everybody's situation is unique. You are where you are when you're supposed to be. So it's hard to see that while you're grinding, while you're working. But so if I could talk to, if I can look back and say, there are experiences that I had when I was going through it, when I was trying to, get clients, when I was trying to work, and I felt that, maybe this isn't, there are times where I said I wanted to change industries. Maybe this isn't the right field for me, but I'm so happy that I persisted, because it got me to this position, and I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be at the time I'm supposed to be. So just persist. So whenever you're talking to yourself, or you're looking back and taking stock of how far you've come, take a moment to really appreciate how far you've come, and appreciate every part of the journey, because that's what it is. It's just a journey. Appreciate it all. Ups, downs, fears, doubts. It's all part of the journey. It's normal. That's why I think that we need to get to the place as a society where we normalize a lot of this stuff, because it's normal. Everybody goes through it. It's not just you. It's normal.
Describe one of those times when you were chasing client. Well, I'll tell you what. Describe the moment the one moment in your business where it just felt like you were moving backwards.
Oh man,
clients and just the point where it feels like nothing is working.
Oh man, I mean that's easy. Man, this business is you know particularly early on, and but I guess throughout you deal with a lot of rejection. When I first started in the industry, I used to take rejection personally because I used to be. I'm a pretty likable guy. I have tons of friends, and I've always been kind of a person who I felt that people enjoyed being around. But so I had to just get to the place where sometimes the rejection was just getting so, at least in my mind, so much or so frequent that I was like, man, maybe I'm not good at this, or maybe people just don't like me. I'll never be able to get a client. You start talking those you start having those statements of self-doubt. And once that doubt starts to creep in, it really starts to take you down a path that you really don't need to be on. So again, that's why I said at some point that, mental health and just having that balance, because I just can't, it's just not healthy to be getting quote beat up all day, all the time. Like you're dealing with sometimes you need to step away from it and then come back to it. Sometimes you need to literally go out for a walk. Yeah. You need to go play with your kids, go take your wife out on a date, just go do something else and then come back to it. Because there's gonna be those times where you're just like, nothing seems to be working, but it's not true. A lot of times just keep on working until you get to that breakthrough, because it'll all come together.
Yeah, and in your opinion, what does life look like when you don't take that step back? Because like I said, it's very easy for us, especially the people that enjoy the process, to just keep our heads down. But if you don't take that step back in those moments of reflection, for the people that says I can't afford to do it, and you saying you can't afford not to do it.
Yeah, again, that's such a personal thing. I would just encourage folks who that's a non-negotiable. You got to find a way to do it. And this is not, I'm not saying take weeks off at a time. You have to work. We all have to work, because I still put in a lot of hours. What I'm saying is that, and depending on your type of business, I'm in a unique position that I can kind of allocate my time a lot better. So if, for example, dropping my sons off to school is important to me, well, I can get up really early, work in the morning before school, get that family time, drop them off, everybody's gone, grind during the day, and then I can still be there to go pick them up. So you gotta, the same way you schedule that important client call or that important prospecting call, you gotta build in family time in there also. You just have to, because what you'll do is that most entrepreneurs are natural, they're driven people, they're ambitious, and this thing can get out of control real quick. And then it's a we've seen this story over and over and over again. This is not nothing new. This is not something I just made up. We all talk to that old business owner. I'll be successful. They might be materially successful, and then they start to realize that, man, I wish I would have done it different. And you're looking at them like, well, what do you mean? You're at the top of your field. You've done well financially. You've done it, and they just literally say, "Man, look, I wish I would have done it different."
Yeah,
you got to listen to those people, and I do. I take stock from that. I try to say that what is most important to me and for me, and then I think my clients appreciate that too, because I'm also in the business that I am telling clients or helping them achieve their best life. I would hope that they don't want to work with a planner who's all burnt out and jaded and angry all the time. Like, you don't want to be around that person.
Got it. So I'm your client. First date, what does our experience look like once we hire you?
Yeah, so our process is really simple, Emil. So we take all of our people who find us, they can go and schedule a 15-minute intro call on our website, www.vantagepointplanning.com. They schedule a call there. We have the quick intro phone call. You know, that just gives me an opportunity, and I always make this very clear. I want you to interview me the same way I'm interviewing you, because this has to be a mutually beneficial relationship. I'm in a fortunate position where, and I guess you can do that if you're the boss, if you work with who you want to work with. Now, there are those revenue considerations also, but for the most part, try to really, particularly if you're in a relationship business, you want to enjoy the people that you work with. Okay, so that's number one. So you have that intro call. I get some information from you, then I send you a prospective client questionnaire. I tell clients that is not meant to be exhaustive. Fill it out to the best of your ability and let me take a look at it. They send it back, I review it, and then from that data, I'm able to send them an estimate of how much I think the engagement is going to cost. And all of our fees, this is another thing that we really wanted. All of our fees are on our website. There's no secret, there's no guessing. It's all there. We want it to be really transparent, because by the time people reach out to us, most of them have already taken a look at all the information on the website. The website is a wealth of information. Go take a look at it. So we send them that estimate, and then from that estimate, if they have questions, we talk about it. Okay, they say, you know, we're gonna move forward, or, you know, at this time we're not gonna move forward. So if they decide to become a VantagePoint client, a VantagePoint planning client, at that point we kind of then start the process of addressing their initial situation. One thing that's unique about our practice is that everybody who comes on as a client, we actually take them through a psychological assessment. Everybody hears that and is just like, well, the reason why we do that is because we believe we spend a lot of time getting to know, you know, what does money mean to you? Why is it important? What are some of your fears, concerns? Because we want to have that kind of candid and open conversation about these things, because that's the way we're going to construct the plan. Because we want the plan is so personal to your situation. How can it be personal if I don't know you? So, you know, that's why we spend a lot of time getting to know the person, to make sure that this plan is specific and personal to their situation. Then after that, it's all good. It's just meeting with folks, just setting up and kind of having like a checklist of things that I'm responsible for, you're responsible for, and getting it done. One of the things that people find valuable is that, you know, after working with us, their financial peace of mind is immeasurable. Like, you know, they finally feel like they have, you know, they have somebody there to hold them accountable. They have somebody there who's working on their best interest. They can kind of take those things off their plate and then go do the things that they really want to do.
How do we prepare to, before we even get to you? So the clients that do make it to you, the most prepared ones, what do they look like to make your job easier?
I mean, the most prepared, if you think about, you know, so we really make it as easy as possible for folks. If you have a willingness and you really want to, and you see some value in working with us, we make it really easy for you. So, you know, one of the things that a lot of people have some anxiety about, like, man, am I gonna have to collect all of these documents and I don't know where things are and everything? Well, one of our financial planning software, first of all, there's a mobile app so folks can see their financial planning, their financial plan at any time on demand. There's also an online web portal. So with that online web portal, it's a single sign-in. So it's a client, I mean, basically an account aggregator. So if you have accounts, wherever you have accounts and you do online banking, so say you bank at ABC Bank, you put that login in and it pulls in the data into your financial plan. Now, again, that's fully encrypted, fully secure link. I don't have access to do any transactions in it, but all the transactions flow into the financial plan. So now I'm able to see real numbers, your retirement plan at work, that investment account that you have, that insurance account. You just log in there in the plan, and then all of that information pulls in. So now you have the benefit of seeing all of your financial accounts all in one place. And then you're working with one person to make sure that it's all coordinated and working for you. So a lot of folks find that encouraging, or they have a lot of, they get financial peace from that, to know that, finally, like, there's not a bunch of 1-800 numbers that I got to call, a bunch of different passwords and logins that I have to, it's all in one place, and it's all there working for you. I've literally looked at everything for you to make sure that you're in the situation, or you're in the accounts that you're supposed to be in, that makes sense for the things that are important to you. So that's what it looks like.
How are you advising your clients right now, especially the ones that's been furloughed or laid off, or have taken like a major hit during this COVID situation? How do we tread water and just maintain until we figure out exactly what direction everything is going to head into?
Yeah. So, one of the things that, again, I start by, showing a lot of empathy, because I could understand how tough of a situation that can be. Now, from the financial planning perspective, I can tell folks that, look, if they were already clients of mine, I'd like to think that, we've prepared for this in some kind of way. Like, you can't foresee, nobody could have foresawn a global pandemic, but you can prepare for it as best as you can. So we have an adequate amount of cash reserve. From your investment account, we have a certain amount in fixed income, i.e. bonds, or interest-bearing accounts. We have still that growth engine in there. So stocks, mutual funds, ETFs, things like that. So, but hopefully, we've come up with a plan in order to kind of weather this storm, because we know, looking back historically, if you're able to get through this, and if you are working with someone who is working on you in your best interest, more often than not, statistically speaking, you can come out of this. Now, you lost your job, so you don't have any income. Those are real things. Those are real concerns. Now, hopefully, with this stimulus check, and we did a video out about this the other day. So, again, depending on where you are income-wise, the amount varies for different people. But we say, if you've been furloughed or you lost your employment, that stimulus check, use that to cover some of your your immediate expenses. Throw that into your cash reserves. Second thing you might want to consider doing, if you're still working, but maybe your hours have been reduced, or things like that, or you have to take a pay cut. And this goes across the board, because I know a lot of physicians, people who are in high six figures, who have to take a pay cut because of this. So, you want to take some of that stimulus money or any type of other resources that you have to cover some of those high interest debt. So you don't want to have credit card payments and different things like that during that time. If you can knock off some of that debt, you can do that. And then thirdly, if you're in a fortunate position where you find yourself that you're still working, you've had enough savings to kind of weather this, and you've received some kind of a stimulus check, maybe you might want to consider being charitable with that. You might, talk to friends, neighbors, family, that organization, because there are a lot of people who are not in a fortunate situation as you are, and maybe you can help somebody out.
Good stuff, man. Yeah. How can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, man. So it's easy to find us. You can find us on our website, www.VantagePoint. Point is a POINTE. There's an E on the end of point. So VantagePointPlanning.com. You can find us on Instagram at VantagePoint Planning, Facebook at VantagePoint Planning, and LinkedIn. We're out there. So we're easy to find, and we're excited to talk to you.
We appreciate it, man. Well, we're gonna segue into the fire round, one of my favorite parts of the episode. You ready?
Yeah, let's go.
Questions. So, if you had to go on an island, you could only take one book with you. What's the one book that you're taking?
Oh man, just one book now. So a book that was instrumental to me, man, is oldie but good. Let me see. I really enjoyed Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah.
yeah, I did.
That's it. That's it. Now, same situation. You lost everything, right? And you had to get thrown on that same island. What would you do to get back to where you are right now?
Oh man, does that island have internet access?
Well, when you come back from the island, so you gotta start from ground zero all over again. So what would that map look like getting back to where we are talking today?
Oh man, that it would just be, so I think that it's that old saying, tough times don't last, tough people do. So if as long as I'm healthy, my faith is still strong, I have my family, I just put my nose to the grindstone and rebuild.
Yeah, what does that look like for the person going into the financial industry? Like, I want to work hard, but I don't know what hard work looks like yet in my industry.
Oh man, hard work is, like I told you, the number one thing, getting clients. So I would be out there. I would be producing content, either on all social media platforms. I would be networking, the Chamber of Commerce in your city, going to different events, reaching out to your alumni association, talking to friends and family. You got to get out there. So I would just be just hustling.
Yeah, that's good, man. Well, we appreciate your time. Not gonna keep too much longer, but man, I enjoyed the conversation. So for that aspiring current entrepreneur, please listen to this, go back, rewind it. It starts with the first step. And don't make excuses. Anything else you want to add before we go?
No, man, I just appreciate what you guys are doing right now. And for anybody listening to this, talk to other entrepreneurs, man. I'm an open book. If you want to reach out to me and you're considering financial planning as an industry, I'm more than happy to speak to you, because look, there are people who spoke to me when I was in your position. So just keep doing what you're doing, and we appreciate y'all.
Yeah. Thank you.